And then what we usually do when we have loops and if statements and everything, we put it into what we call a function. So in MATLAB, you have to create a new script that is a .m file. If you guys, I'm sure you've seen these in, this is like statplot from BioE 100. So this is a function, plotting as well. You guys have seen that a little bit. And so the functions can be doing that, and it can also be doing for loops and if statements, because if you look at this, I've only ran this while loop once, and I can't really do anything with it once it's done. Like, I can't increase Cheerios and then run it again. I'd have to retype it. So that's why we use functions. So a couple things to keep in mind is you must have, like, the file name must be the same as the function name. Otherwise, the MATLAB will not recognize a function when it's called if it's different. And so you also have to define output and input. So the way it's structured is you have a function, some output, your function name, input, you do something, and then you end. So right now I had like defined output equals input so that MATLAB knows that, okay, I'm returning output. And we always use like semicolons to suppress the output, because right here I didn't use a semicolon, right? And I can see all these numbers, and it makes my command window a little messy, so don't really want to do that. And then another thing to keep in mind is commenting. Just make sure to like comment your text out. What this does is that it provides like words that you can say, okay, this is what my function is doing. As you can see from this one, so they use % sign, say turn the thing green, and you can see exactly, okay, this is like what this is doing, so that when somebody uses your code, they can understand what's going on. So I'm just going to create like a basic function to kind of just showcase, put everything kind of put together. So first you want to do is you want to write function, and then you're going to want to say some output variable is equal to, I'm just going to call this example. That's going to be my function name. And then I'm going to have some input. So one of the things that I like to do initially is make sure that I write my end statement first, so I can keep track of where I start and the end statement, so that I'm making sure I have all my end statements there. Otherwise, if I'm missing an end statement, you'll get a parsing error, so it won't know when to end. Okay, so let's say I want to go through a vector, and to do that, I'm probably going to use a for loop. So you're going to say for some x, like a number, from 1 to the length of input. So what this is going to do is x will be your index every time you go through the loop. I'm going to just tap this also. Every time you go through the loop, x will be your index. So for that, then you can go through and get the variable that responds to that index. So indexes are like the number of elements in the list, and the position of those. It's the position of those elements. Reason why I tabbed this over indented was because it just helps things to keep clear, and I can make sure that my end statement corresponds to the for statement. Then let's add an if statement and say like if input at position x, if that's like 0, if it's negative, then what I'm going to do is maybe change the input of x, or at x, to be 0. I'm going to redefine it. And then let's say else if input of x, let's say if it's equal to 3, like I want to keep all my 3s in my matrices, then I'm going to continue. And then final else statement, input at position x, if it's greater than 0, then it's going to be, can redefine it as 1. And so now what's going on here is I'm redefining input. So I'm actually going to return input and not like a new variable output. So you can actually do this. So you can return the same variable. It's just that now it's been modified. So I'm going to just comment this out and tell whoever's going to see this that's going to take in matrix, change negative values to values to 0, positive values to 1, and keep 3. So that's like kind of like what it does. I'm going to save it as, so MATLAB already tells you example, just don't rename it. And then you'll be able to call it. So we're going to save it. As you can see here, it's example. My function name is example exactly, and that's how I'm going to call it. So we can call our function example, and now it says I need an input. So then we're going to put in an input matrix. I'm just going to put in random numbers, put some positives and then some negatives. And 0. And so that's my matrix. This is like, make sure you put your parentheses around it, and that's like calling the function. So as you can see, I haven't suppressed the outputs with negatives, so you can actually like see every time it goes through the loop. So you can see how like cluttered that gets, and the longer you get it, it's not going to be good. So we're just going to suppress your statements with semicolons, and that should make things nicer. I can call it again. So then if you see here, this is my final resulting matrix, and you can see that you can see over here that like it's 3. I kept my 3, put my positives as 1, negatives as 0, and then positives as 1. So that's kind of how you do a basic function, and you can use loops however you want. And yeah, so you can make it more complicated and build on it as you go on. Are there any questions?